Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's Ridgecrest City Council meeting. This is our regular council meeting, and we will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5 p.m. with a roll call vote.
Mayor Bruin.
Here.
Mr. Blades.
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Here.
Mr. Heyman.
Present.
Ms. Breeden.
Here.
5 present. We have a quorum.
Okay, with quorum called, first action is approval of the agenda. Do I have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second.
I think we can vote tonight.
We can use the automated?
Yeah. I think unless he's not caught up.
Yeah,
There
looks
you
like
go.
comes up.
Please vote.
And I look like me tonight.
Yes. I double checked to make sure we were all good. 5 ayes, motion carries.
And they all responded quickly. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is public comment on closed session items. Any member of the public wishing to comment on the closed session? Any callers? No callers, no public comment. We'll go and close public comment on the closed session and immediately enter into closed session. We'll return to regular session at 6 p.m. I will be, yes. Good evening and welcome back to our regular session. We have entered out of closed session. We'll be returning to closed session after our agenda. We were unable to complete the conference with legal counsel. We'll be doing that after the meeting. In regards to personnel matters, there is no action to report, and we'll go ahead and begin with our regular agenda. If I could ask us all to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in an attitude of prayer. Almighty God, thank you for giving us this beautiful day, and thank you for this loving community we have where we live and cherish, Lord. Pray for our country. Lord, let there be your love, your peace, and your understanding. Pray for the leaders of our nation. Guide them to lead this country, Lord. I pray for our troops who are in harm's way. Protect them from all evil. Lord, as we continue this meeting, be with the city council, be with the decisions which we make. Let these decisions be beneficial to our community. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
For our YouTube audience, I apologize. We did do one thing additionally out of closed session that I did not mention, which was wish our police chief, Officer McLaughlin, a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Jed. Next item is our attorney report. I don't think Lloyd's here yet, right? Lloyd? Hello, Lloyd. There you are.
I am with you, and I apologize for being late.
Well, guess what? You're up. It's attorney report.
So I understand that the council will continue closed session after the meeting,
That is correct, sir.
and then nothing to report.
Fantastic, sir. Next item is public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the city council may not take any action on any item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes, and the public comment section is limited to 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. We will take calls first from the call-ins, and then we'll take them from the floor. Do I have any call-in public comment, Gary? I have no public comment from the phones. Do I have any public comment from the floor?
Matthews. Address is on file. Just wanted to mention that there's some irony going on in the world right now. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we have all kinds of protesters going on in this protests going on in this country. Most of it is left-leaning. Most of it is trying to destroy this country. And at the same time here, over in Moscow, there is also protests. But what are they protesting? They're protesting the imprisonment of one of the opposition leaders against communism, believe it or not. So I just thought I'd call that to your attention. In the meantime, I'm going to take this opportunity again this evening to quote one of my favorite pilgrims, so to speak, founding fathers. He wasn't really a signer of the Constitution, but he was related to one. John Adams' cousin, Samuel Adams, was governor of Massachusetts. He was also a preacher and a very wise man. And one of the things, many things that he said was that neither the wisest laws nor the wisest constitution will secure the liberty, which is also freedom, of a people that are universally corrupt. And if you have your eyes open and your ears open, you can see all kinds of corruption in this country right now. All over the place, hopefully not too much here, locally, but elsewhere, even our own state capital, right here in California. So I just thought I'd throw those out again tonight because there may be people that didn't remember them or hadn't heard them before. So I have more to say on later items on the agenda later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor and Council, Tom Wicknick, and I'm here tonight to talk about some comments made from the last meeting, right at the end of the meeting, where you had mentioned that there was some Fair Information Act things filed and some FPP stuff filed. And while I don't know anything about the Freedom of Information Act stuff, I have nothing to do with that, but the way you commented, it seemed like it was a criticism of people having the audacity to ask for that information, as well as whoever filed FPPC complaints. Well, I'm here to say that I am one of the person that filed an FPPC complaint. I was perfectly willing to let it go in private, behind the scenes, and let them make their determination about what I had brought to their attention. But you brought it public, so I'm going to answer it public. Okay? First of all, I'm going to start off by saying that the reason I filed it is because of your actions, Mr. Mayor. When you decided that you were going to appoint somebody to fill the empty seat by the resignation of Mr. Maurer, you announced it near the end of the meeting, and you very quickly just said, I knew Mike Maurer was going to resign, and I've decided that we're going to appoint. With no agenda item, no discussion from the council, no public comment, then you went ahead and have a discussion. You set a date. You told people to put applications in, a date to review those applications without it ever being agendized. I let the city attorney know, and he provided you decent cover at the next meeting to put it on the agenda, and you had a full discussion about it. But it didn't start off that way. At that meeting, I then brought up the possible conflicts of interest you have in your participation in that decision of the appointment. And I brought up a number of things. And you were quick to comment that you were aware of possible concerns and that you had talked to the city attorney and he'd given you a clearance to go ahead and be part of the process. And I said, well, whether it's criminal, civil, or ethical, or even perceived, it should be considered by you before you participate. And you said, your words, I can't say exactly, but you said, well, the city attorney, I talked to him, and he said it's fine that I participate. And, by the way, I can't do anything about perception. Okay? Yes, you can. And let me give you an example. First of all, when the city attorney gave you the go-ahead, remember, every court case has two attorneys on both sides that don't agree. So just because he said you could do it doesn't mean that you could do it or should have done it. When it comes to the ethical position or the perceived, I once awarded a $45 million contract on base. And I had this harebrained scheme. I'm going to buy a Ferrari. And what did my boss say about that? How would it look if I came to work a month after awarding a $45 million contract driving a Ferrari? He said, you got every right to buy that Ferrari, but how would it look, Tom? Think about that. Well, a Ferrari never went in my driveway. But you participated, and I don't believe you should have done that. So we'll see what the FPC says about it. Next, about how you are not able to separate yourself from your business and your role as the mayor of Ridgecrest. Your Facebook has numerous sites where you're doing information and videos about Eric Bruin, mayor, city of Ridgecrest. In the background is a picture of your business logo on the back. You talk about it during the videos. And you even did an interview on the TV station in Bakersfield and talked about your business while being interviewed as the mayor of Ridgecrest. Understand that your performance at the credit union, both your position and your pay, is dependent on your position about how well that place works. And if you're using your title to position yourself to help your financial institution, it's not right. I commend the other ones up here that have businesses because I don't hear them mentioning their businesses at all. Since you've been elected, you've mentioned yours numbers of times. Solomon doesn't talk about his bank. He even corrected you one night and said, hey, there's another institution. And you said, oh, I didn't know they were doing it. All right? Peggy, I never hear her talk about her business. And Scott. So all I'm saying is separate yourself from the mayor of Ridgecrest and your business.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Hearing none. Any council announcements?
I do have, let's see, here we go. There we are. Checking the mic. Check. There we go. I do have one this weekend, Saturday, 9 o'clock. I have organized a community cleanup. If you'd like to join, that's at 9 o'clock, Boeing and LaMille Street. And I have a few other volunteers that are going to be there with me. Just picking up trash, working along Bowman Road, trying to get things cleaned up. And if it's a success, I hope to do it at other locations around town and keep it going.
Just a commendation to Kyle, who's been working on that very hard. I know that there's some of us that'll be there, some of us that won't, and I apologize in advance. Kids aren't looking that good. Any other council announcements? Oh, yeah. Thank you. I wouldn't have actually thought of it. The Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is on May 6th. This is our second meeting. We won't have met. We'll meet the day before, I believe, correct? Yeah, we'll meet on the 5th, but just as a heads up, Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is at the Desert Christian Center on May 6th at 6:10 a.m. If you're planning on participating, I don't know where they reach out to. It's $8 per person and sponsored by the Kiwanis Club, and I'll be up way too early that morning for those of you who know me. Any other council announcements?
Just want to mention on the occasion of Administrative Professionals Day, I want to appreciate what Ricard does. I want to appreciate what Heather does for this community. So thank you very much for all your service to this city, a great city of Ridgecrest. Thank you.
Well done. Today, is that today? Is that what today's? Thank you. Definitely. I should have said that too, Rika. Okay. Any other council announcements? Okay, hearing none. Next is our consent calendar. All items listed on the consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence, with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. We have 5 items, I apologize. The first is the draft minutes of the regular meeting dated April 7th, 2021. Second is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest authorizing an application for federal funding for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $370,995. The city manager to sign and file the application and to execute and file all certification of assurances, contracts, or agreements, and designate the Transit Services Coordinator to both provide additional information in connection with the application for the Section 5311 projects and to submit and approve requests for reimbursement of funds for the department for the Section 531 project. 3, proposed approval of increased appropriations to the fiscal year 2021 budget for building professional services. 4, grant acceptance for a grant awarded from the State of California Office of Traffic Safety. And 5, announcing proclamations prepared for the month of April and scheduled date of presentations. Would any member of the council like an item pulled?
So I apologize in advance. I was looking for my data package and I can't find it. I wanted to pull 3 and 4.
Okay. Items number 3 and 4. Would any member of the public like any items pulled? Okay. Do I have a motion for approval of items 1, 2, and 5?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. Mr. Heyman. Thank you, sir. It's not liking you tonight. There you go. 5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay. Item number 3. This is the proposed approval of increased appropriations to the fiscal year 2021 budget for building professional services. Ms. Spurlock.
Good evening.
Evening.
Okay, so my only question was, just as it reads, what are the proposed increased appropriations? What are? Let me get right up on it. Sorry about that. The increased appropriations.
So what it is this year we ended up issuing more building permits. And so the revenue is up in the building permits and plan checks accounts. But for those services, we do consult. So because we have had more applications and we have more revenue, we also have more expenses to our consultants.
Okay, thank you. That's it. That's all I had.
33,000 for the exact number.
All right, I just didn't have my data
Yeah,
package.
that's fine.
So, okay. 33,000.
Yeah, this resolution just makes it a lot cleaner for our audit in regards to the CAFR for Cherie. So she asked us to bring this on so there's more of an accounting of we're going to go above our expenditures, but our revenue's higher. So this just keeps the books cleaner for her during audit time.
Tracking. Thank you.
Do I have a motion for approval of item number 3, the approval of the increased appropriations?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Please vote. Five ayes, motion carries.
Next item is item number 4, grant acceptance for a grant awarded from the State of California, Office of Traffic Safety. It appears that, Kyle, just to help you, it's $72,500. No, I just,
No, you knew what I was going to.
Yeah.
Most of what I was
just trying to help.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Stucker.
Captain.
Sir.
That was so that was my only question. I was hoping you could just expand for the public a little bit about the grant. Really just want to see you up here talking, Captain.
Yeah, that's all right. Can you hear me? All right, so the grant is awarded. It was awarded to the city of Ridgecrest in the amount of $72,500. This provides funding for best practice strategies to be conducted in order to reduce the number of persons killed and injured in crashes involving alcohol and other primary collision factors. The funded strategies may include impaired driving enforcement, operations focused on primary collision factors, distracted driving, nighttime seatbelt enforcement, special enforcement operations, encouraging motorcycle safety, enforcement and public awareness in areas with a high number of bicycle and pedestrian collisions, and educational programs. These strategies are designed to earn media attention, thus enhancing the overall deterrent effect. The Office of Traffic Safety Grant Program will further fund for 2 officers to attend the NHTSA Standardized Field Sobriety Test Post-Certified Training, 2 officers to attend the NHTSA Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement A-RIDE training, 1 officer to attend Drug Recognition Expert DRE training, 1 officer to attend Drug Recognition Expert Recertification training, and 1 officer to standardized field sobriety training. The OTS grant program will provide funding for 4 DUI driver's license checkpoints, 7 DUI saturation patrols, 6 enforcement operations, including but not limited to primary collision factor violations, and 1 highly publicized distracted driving enforcement operation targeting drivers using handheld cell phones and texting. The program will also provide funding for a portable light tower, portable generator, and radar devices. The grant period begins October 1st, 2020 and ends September 30th, 2021. The grant requires 0% in matching funds from the city. Total project cost is $72,500. The grant funding will provide 100% reimbursement of the total project costs. No funds from the city general fund will be used to support the grant or project.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the acceptance of the grant award?
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second.
Please vote. Five ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. Next item on the agenda is item number 6. This is discussion and guidance to the city's representative on the board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Councilman Heyman.
Okay, so the GA did meet, and we had actually a pretty quiet, minimal agenda meeting. The primary item was item 8, which was the board consideration of the shallow well mitigation report form. And so that report form was approved, and I believe that was about it, the report at this time. So.
Thank you.
Is there any questions from council in regards or discussion items in regards to the GA?
No questions.
I'm just going to go ahead and say again, I'm going to commend Councilman Heyman and City Manager Strand and everyone else who's working on the water issues. If you're not aware, there's a lot of work going on. A lot of it is negotiation. A lot of it is tiresome, but they've worked tirelessly for this project, and I commend them both. Okay. Any comments from the public?
Tom Wicknick, just a couple comments, Scott. 2 questions for you. Just general information. We have a new supervisor, and I was just wondering how he's performing on the water board for us, and just general terms of representation. And then something more specific is how are we doing on the exploratory well drilling in the southwest part of the valley? Can we get an update on that?
Sure. In regards to our new Kern County supervisor, Supervisor Peters is, I think, doing a wonderful job. He's been very engaged with the community and actually drives over from Bakersfield to be in person. And so I respect that a lot. His effort in it is 100%. I commend him. In regards to the well, you're referring out in the El Paso range that's being drilled?
Yep. So that is, I took a drive out there myself and looked at the well. So the well is being drilled. And are you asking it what are some of the aspects of the well? What it's going to be? No, there's not been a report back. So once the drilling's complete, then the study aspect of it will be engaged, and then we'll get a report back on that. And so, but some of the basics are, the water itself, the quality of the water, TDSs of the total dissolved solids in the water, the different types of soil that as they drill down, what's composed of, flow of the water. So we'll give a good report back once we get to that, that stage of it. I believe, I don't want to be quoted on this, but I want to say, was it toward the tail end of the year? I think, Ron, November-ish?
Yeah, it's towards, I believe, November.
Yeah.
But I do believe if you go to, I think it's the groundwater website, they are posting the well logs, I believe.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yep. Is that good? Yes, sir. All right.
Oh, I guess I should have asked, Scott, how's your new, and you brought on a new manager, right? How's that working out?
Very well. I don't know if Ron wants to, being that he was the previous general manager, but so far I really have been very happy with our new general manager and our the different aspects that general manager is going to be taking over and working with. So she's basically at her first meeting, this last meeting, but did you want to add to that, Ron, as far as your...
Yeah, Carol Thomas O'Keefe comes to the Groundwater Authority with a significant amount of water experience. So she's not having to relearn water. She's just picking up where the Groundwater Authority is heading. So she is engaging, participating in the meetings, and providing, staff input or manager input on where we're heading. So I'm happy. I know that we'll be finalizing our lease agreement with RGS probably tomorrow, and then April Keegwin will be using one of our offices for the Groundwater Authority business starting, I believe, May 1st.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Councilman Heyman. Next item is item number 7. This is a proposal to approve a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council proclaiming a Ridgecrest Historical District. This is brought to the council by me. This is something that I've worked with the Historical Society of the Upper Mojave Desert. I have to get it right. I just always call it the Historical Society. There's a couple things that were going on in here. We have two ways of working towards a collective goal. So right now we have the Penny Pool grant put in. We have the California Welcome Center in development. And we have the area right there between the USO, the new Victory Market sign, and the areas that they're trying to preserve in terms of the historical district there. What we are proposing is a proclamation, and the purpose behind the proclamation is like anything else. It's a announcement that we believe that these buildings represent the historical nature of our community, and with a hope towards including one of those buildings in the future as part of a historical area that the Upper Mojave Desert has been working on, and that's the library, which is currently was the community's first library. It's now currently the empty Kern County Public Health Center, I believe is what they call it. Is that what it's called right now? It's an empty public health center, correct? Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm clarifying it properly. And again, the goal is to be able to develop and proclaim this as an area so that when we go to the Welcome Center, we can then proclaim this as an area of interest within our community for tourism, for other people to come into the community and see this is what Ridgecrest was 1940s, 1950s, as it developed, as it built as a town. This is our original jail. This is our original library, our schoolhouse. So the purpose of the proclamation is to recognize it via a proclamation, so they can then use that proclamation to develop it as a tourism location. Now, the other option would have been obviously to go through the process of a California State Historical District. Okay, and that's if anybody's been in different areas where this building is of historical landmark merit. And it certainly could be made an argument that the USO building is worthy of that classification, but that classification would have obviously cost a lot of taxpayer dollars in terms of getting the management going through the application, going through the entire process. And the California Welcome Center we expect to see up before the end of the year at its current pace. So this is a beneficial stopgap to a goal that can still be revisited if we feel that there's a merited worth to going through the cost and the effort for a historical district. Okay? So in terms of legal weight, what does this carry? It carries the same legal weight as awarding a key to the city. It is a proclamation of the city of Ridgecrest that these buildings we believe are important and represent the history of our community. That proclamation could be reproclaimed if we should choose to add buildings in the future. I know the VFWs came to me this week in terms of asking. I know that other buildings have already kind of said, oh, you're doing this. This is first effort at preserving and proclaiming what we believe is the historical center of this community for the purposes of building tourism and other opportunities around it.
Is there any reason we couldn't include the VFW in on your proposal?
I don't know if there's any reason other than I don't know what its age is. I don't know what the building age is. I don't have the same level of detail that I have on all the other properties that I brought forth.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's a historical significance of that, but you've probably already been briefed.
And I'm not disagreeing that there is probably a historical significance that can be revisited. That's what I'm trying to say. Is I'm not, to be clear, for those guys who are out there listening, or if they have a concern about the VFW, we're not saying no. We're simply saying the proposal that I have in front of me right now, as we've done the research on the age of the buildings, I don't know the history or the fundamental ages in order to bring that into the equation here.
So, Mayor, there is definitely a significant difference between proclamation and creating, right?
Correct.
Okay. So by proclaiming, we are not restricting the property rights of any of these property owners.
That is correct.
Okay. So just wanted to make sure.
We by creating a proclamation, and if you want to see, kind of the 4 items that are on the very back that I focus on, is we are establishing the historical designation for significance. Okay. We're creating it noteworthy and exceptional, but the last one is the most important, as a key marketing tool.
Absolutely.
For the RACVB and the California Welcome Center. And so this is about being able to say this is, if you guys remember the when Carrie did her slide, she had the kind of pieces, and one of them I know stood out to me. It says Crumville, right?
Yes.
Right? And so we all know that's the old name, but if we were to be able to put on the backside, Crumville still lives in town, and be able to show the USO building, the library, the jail, this gives them the ability to market that. The other interesting thing it does is let's just hope and be happy with the idea that we get the pool grant. Well, now all of a sudden we're able to start to develop a larger area that is really central about the community in terms of central focus. You'll have Freedom Park, the historical district. You'll have the Penny Pool location. You'll have the splash pad. You'll have Kerr McGee. You have City Hall. You create a dynamic area within a small area, which is really good for tourism when you're talking about bringing people in to look at something. It's the idea they come to a swim meet and they go over to the historical buildings because they want to teach old history or something like that. There's a lot of potential dominoes over time.
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may build on, support what you just said, and to respond to Vice Mayor Rajaratnam's comment. So the resolution is very clear. It does not describe any restrictions on the property. And I like your analogy to giving someone a key to the city. That's very good comparison, that this is a symbolic gesture. And of course, I think you said it, Mr. Mayor, but it in no way prevents anyone from, not just the city, but others from submitting an application to designate a property as a historic landmark. So that's still on the table. And the other thing I'll add is that if the city wanted to place restrictions on how the properties could be used, that would definitely go before Planning Commission first. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, I think this is a great proposal. I mean, it raises our community awareness. We have pride in these historical buildings. So I just wanted to make sure we are doing the right thing in the right way. So is this the first time we are trying to do this? I mean, it's a question for the staff probably.
It's the first time I know of a proclamation specifically for the compilation of buildings in that area.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this. I appreciate it.
I would like to just inquire a little bit more about the VFW and getting them on this list, because it's something that we could amend tonight, or could we bring it back with it on a subsequent meeting? Looking at the history of it, it was established 76 years ago in Ridgecrest, and had also well, I'll just read it. But in 2013, with the Trona VFW post 1950 closing their doors for good, they consolidated with the Ridgecrest ship. Since post 1950 was the senior post, having been established on November 13th, 1930, the Ridgecrest VFW assumed their seniority, and the establishment date was changed per the VFW's policy. It states that the VFW ship 4084 was originally established almost 76 years ago. I don't know the exact year of that building, but they said that they built the building themselves with, as a group, and so I think it's a very historical aspect. Being a veteran myself, I would like to make sure that they are included in this list, and so how we go about that, I'm open to discussion with the council.
My biggest thing is just understanding their age to be able to properly address it within the proclamation. That would be my only concern.
So would it be just based on age of buildings, or the fact that the age of the VFW post and the ship, and one of only 3 ships left, that in and of itself is very historical?
It is historical.
And so I think it falls within this, content that it's based on. So
I'd like to hear other opinions. For me, the age of the building is a factor personally, just because you're talking about how you're recognizing as age. I'm going to let public comment in just a second after we're done. After we talk through a few points, then I'll public comment. Have any?
I have nothing further.
Okay. I do have one clarification, though. In the resolution, now we are saying here, Ridgecrest City Council, that we recognize and establish a Ridgecrest historic. Maybe we should say proclaim a proclamation or something like that. We are not actually establishing a historic district. So there is a big difference there, I think. Establishing is like creating a historic district, which you said we have to go through a process.
A California historical landmark.
He's down at the bottom there now. Therefore,
maybe
be it
attorney
proclaimed.
can weigh in on this.
Proclaim. Okay, I see your point there. Versus establish.
So we could just, you want to say that we recognize a Ridgecrest Historic District, or you want to say recognize and proclaim?
And proclaim a
And
Ridgecrest
proclaim,
Historical
yeah.
District. That makes sense. That's a good word that's a good wordsmithy. But I mean, I don't even know if this will be voted on tonight, because if we bring the VFW into this equation, then we would make some changes into the actual proclamation.
The only thing I would suggest is that in that same sentence, it does say a Ridgecrest Historic District around the current USO building, and the VFW is right there in the same, right across the street.
It is.
So I don't know how inclusive that is, but it is in there.
the whereas would, then I would assume that in the whereas we'd want to include the VFW if we were including it as part of the proclamation, and that's where I would say if we end up drawing it back to council at a future meeting, or if we make such an adjustment, then that would be in there as well. Okay, let's start with from the phones. Any public comment on the phone lines? No public comment on the phones. Any public comment from the floor?
I'm Tex Hoppus. I'm the president of the board of directors of the Historical Society of the Upper Mojave Desert.
Kills me to say it.
Two quick things. The name Crumville was a very informal name because Mr. Crum had a dairy down near what is now Ridgecrest Boulevard and Norma. But there was a vote taken in the late 40s in order to establish a post office. They asked for a name, and it was suggested that Sierra View be used as the name so that they could create a post office here. And the post office said no, there were too many Sierras in the state of California. There were 3 other towns that had similar names. So they had a vote, and it came down to between the name Gilmore, which was actually the name of a company that sold gas at where the B of A is now, called Bentham's Corners. There was a single pump gas station. And Ridgecrest was the other name. And the vote was 51-50 for Ridgecrest. So Crumville was an informal name, but it formally went away in about 1948. In terms of the VFW, that was established in 45, and we at the Historical Society actually was given one of their first signs from the late 40s, and it hangs in our auditorium. So in terms of historical record, it actually precedes some of the buildings that are listed in the draft proclamation now. So adding the Veterans of Foreign Wars building that's on Alvord would historically be perfect as a part of that list. I believe that in the draft proclamation I'm familiar with, all that would be done would be to add the Veterans of Foreign Wars building to that list. Thank you.
And Mr. Hoppus, let me just go ahead and say thank you for your help in working with me on this. Tex was very helpful in working this and working towards continuing the restoration and preservation of what our history is. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi, Dave Matthews again. I think it's a very good idea for several reasons, one of which is too many people nowadays want to get rid of anything that's old, and that includes me. I would like to see that there was a couple of other buildings that I would like to see added historically for the city itself. They are significant. One was where the first city councils used to hold their meeting, and that was in the on Panama Street, right past Mr. Whitnick's business now. Is I think it's still there. I haven't been by there for a long time. A U-shaped shopping center, and in the right-hand southerly corner of that complex is where the first city councils used to hold their meetings. And when I got here in 1978, and I had to wait to get my property sold down in Mar Vista before I moved my family up here. So I was commuting back and forth every week, And in the meantime, up here after work, I had free time, and I went down there and attended a couple of council meetings just to see what was going on, because at that time, the city of Ridgecrest was only 5 years old, I think, or something like that. And we actually had to sit outside sometimes when it was so crowded on chairs. And the other building, which is the old Bank of America building, I don't know how many of you know that, but just come to the corner of Panamint and Balsam. It's the building right there on the corner. I think it's in private ownership now. It used to be, I think the Bank of America sold it to the city for their city hall. And then this was before this complex here got built. And they used to sit in there and have their meetings. Now, I think that's a private property now. I'm not sure, but both of these are private properties.
But that's where that's the lighthouse, right?
What?
It's the lighthouse building, correct? Yeah. You were saying Panama. I was just making sure that I understand. I think it's stationed in Balsam. It's the Lighthouse Church right now, if I'm correct.
No, that's further down. That's in the old bank building. This is further up on the next corner.
It's actually 139 North Boston.
I know. Gotcha.
No, that's stationed down there.
Okay.
I think. Used to be. But I would like to see those considered. They're privately owned still, I think, right now. The property owners would have to agree to be included. And as far as the, what are they calling it? The Veterans Building on the northeast corner of the USO building. That used to be the old schoolhouse that was brought over from the old Kernville before the dam went in. And it used to be down there at Helmers Park. It's noted in the descriptions here of the property. We used to have our end-of-year St. Anne's School picnics down there. I was in that building many times, having good times. And when the city decided to put in the solar park that's over there now, they had to move that, and I have a big, thick photo album of all the pictures of that thing being moved. I need to bring it down to the Historical Society one of these days, if I can find it, and offer it to them. I even have the card or something of the mover that moved the darn thing. And also the, I need to get some old Army clothing, or Air Force clothing, and see if that wing would like to have it. Thank you. And also, for the people that have the Victory Market right now, I have in my house an old paper bag. You remember those? When it used to go to the grocery store? And on the side of it, it says Victory Market. So I need to get that to them, too, because otherwise it's going to go out in the trash one of these days if they don't get it caught somewhere where somebody is appreciating it. So I think that covers my input for tonight on this, but thank you very much. It's a good project, I believe, because, like I said, one other thing. The building that was the old school building, I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity, but when the Lake Isabella gets low, you can go over there, go down into where the old Kernville used to be, and you can see the foundation for that building. And you can see where the steps come up to the front and the other steps on the side for the side doors. If it ever gets low enough again and they open it up, take the opportunity and go over there and look around. I think it's marked. So I think I've got pictures of that too somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll bring it back to council discussion. Sounds like that was a pretty, I'm fine with putting VFW in there based on that piece of information.
Have to agree wholeheartedly.
Rika, looking at it, I would say following the sentence, the original Kern County Jail, we would put VFW ship.
I forget which ship number it is. You have it there, Scott?
Yeah, I do.
I have it in the
484.
email, actually.
Oh, okay.
That I forwarded you guys,
4844.
Can you tell me which whereas you're speaking of?
So we are in the fourth whereas,
Okay.
following third sentence, or third line, following the original Kern County Jail.
Right before and the Veterans Memorial.
Correct, and then with a comma following, and with the Veterans Memorial Building being the final. As well as a change to the word establish for proclaim in the last section. Because we made changes, I have to do roll call, right?
No, you do not.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, any other comments or discussions?
Mr. Matthews, I have your contact information, and I'll get a hold of you and get you in contact with the owners of that building with the new Victory Market sign, so you can forward that to them. So I'll get hold of you after hours.
And just for the record, I'd love to see something like the 139 Center or some of the buildings along Balsam, the old Monument Bank branch. Many of those buildings have been preserved and retained in their original form, and if we could, that would be fantastic. But I'm going to say that's probably for a future date if we could find a great way to promote Balsam as another location inside of our community.
Tom and Barb Frisbee have a whole bunch of stuff in the top of their store that has a lot of that information.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Tom and Barb Frisbee have a whole lot of that stuff on the top of their store and have tried to find opportunities to share that, as well as old poker games up there.
So years ago, there was someone took the time to make a book, and maybe, I'm sorry, I forget names here, but there was a book that was put together with pictures that had all kinds of really nice old historical photos of the town when it was in its infancy, and it's really, I find it very interesting to look at, but I'd like to see more of that, saved. So I think this is a great idea, and to be doing this. But anyway, it'd be nice if we had it more open to the public and more of it out there in the public view and places to see it, and because it is a great history on the town.
Okay. Because we're talking about the wonderful old history of our community, absolutely, sir.
For those that really want to get back into some of the old buildings and areas around here, just take a walk through the halls of the Ridgecrest Regional Hospital. They have all kinds of old pictures scattered up, or hung up on the walls at various places, and they've got listed what they were.
Yeah, they worked very hard on that. I actually complimented Jim first time I went to the hospital on that. Okay, any other changes or any other commentary? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the resolution as amended?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Please vote. I can hear him pushing the button. 5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Let me flip this thing back to my lovely agenda. That was a great conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you. Thanks, Tex. Guys, you know what? There's been so many things in this community that we've just, these are the kind of marketing and branding things that we can move forward on quickly, easily, and really make a better impression on the community as a whole, especially as the Welcome Center comes online. Okay, next item is committee reports. First up is finance. That's myself and Councilman Heyman. Obviously, a lot going on. Financial performance for the city remains above our expectations, especially in sales tax and Measure V. We still have a significant shortfall in regards to TOT. We are looking and examining how the America's Relief Plan, or ARP, is going to give us options. I think the council's first focus is on ensuring that we meet our budgetary and expenses that were incurred as a result of the COVID pandemic. And there's still a lot of details with ARP that are not fully fleshed. We're not going to get them until, was it May
10th.
May 10th, and I think they'll take all the way up until May 9th at 12:01 a.m. or 11:59 p.m. To release it. We do know we will have to go through the state, and the state is going to have its right to put potential conditions or restrictions on us. We're hopeful that doesn't happen, but we also live in the state of California. The other great piece was in the previous finance meeting that I was unable to attend. They had already approved several pieces of equipment that we had put aside budgetarily, but with us meeting the expectations, this was a truck for Parks and Rec, 2 units for Public Works, right? A grinder and truck, and then we had 4 police vehicles that had been pushed aside. They purchased one of them, and we approved at the finance committee the purchase of the other 3.
Correct.
So we are moving forward with all of the original budgeted equipment acquisitions that we had back when COVID was at its peak unknown, when we were in the June 2020 budget conversations, which is great news for the city because those are much needed replacements. And I can tell you that there's a lot more police vehicles that need to be replaced. We've made a dent. 4 is a great start, but it's far from completion.
Yeah, I just want to add on those police cars. Those that it was probably over a year ago or so, maybe even longer, that we had in a council meeting that we had a presentation on the cars that we have had been sent to a refurbishing center where they were rebuilt and gone through, and it was cheaper to do that. But these cars have reached their maximum life expectancy, so this is a welcomed addition to our Ridgecrest Police Department. So
at that time, it was 300,000 miles on some of those cars.
Yeah, I don't know what the miles would be now, but they have definitely.
There's a couple at 4.
I don't know that you're going to want to buy them if they come up for sale. So anyway,
it's a great. It's the biggest message that I would have for the community is twofold. Number one, we have been managing from a very fiscally conservative position in a great way, and I commend City Manager Strand and Sheree and the finance team for all their work in managing us. But management still means that we have a very tight budget, and the opportunity to be able to do these things is very, very important. And I'm thrilled to be able to say that we're able to get 4 police vehicles replaced this year, because that's a great start. I don't think I have anything else from finance.
Nope. Same here.
Okay. Infrastructure.
Meet this Thursday.
Economic development.
Yes, economic development. We did meet just on the 14th, I believe. April 14th. So there was a few things. We had 2 discussion items. So it was a race. I do not know still, even though I looked it up online, what RACE means, the acronym for the, but I have no idea. However, RACE is a company that would like to, well, they're going to come into town. There will be fiber ran throughout town. And they have a very sporty proposal on their timelines and their reach throughout the city. They're still working with the staff on exact areas and housing and neighborhoods that will get that. But I don't see a negative to the city. I tried to find one. There could be some minor slowdowns in traffic here and there if there has to be some micro trenching, but I can't see it be an impact. Personally, if somebody does have an impact, of course, get a hold of the city. More to follow on this. We were told that the company, would like to come and brief the city council so that the whole community gets a chance to hear their proposal, and the council as a whole gets to hear, ask all the questions they need to ask. So it was a good briefing. Good to know it's coming. Good for the community, in my opinion, at this point, unless something goes south. So I guess I'll reserve the rest of my judgment on that. And the other part of our discussion items for economic development was staff report and updates. And so there's a lot of things that our outgoing economic lead is going to leave behind, but it'll be picked right back up. We'll have somebody taking Melissa's spot here, I'm sure, in the next month or so. City manager is working on that. You're going to cover RECVB, right? So, okay, I could skip past that. I can say for the community that Panda, if you've noticed, driven by, looks like that lot is being graded at this time. Holiday Inn Express is coming along, and the Oasis Center still plans to break ground, as far as I know. I do not know if permits to break ground have been pulled.
Public Works met with representative from Oasis, and we have modified their development agreement so they can come in with Starbucks and Chipotle before they begin to build the movie theater. So they are hoping to bring that in as soon as possible.
Yeah, thanks, Solomon. Solomon just reminded me also there's a 760 Fitness just went into the old Staples building.
In construction.
In construction.
It won't be there until September, I think. Maybe sooner. But they got a little bit of work to do.
Right, roger that. That's all I have, unless you remember something else, Solomon, that I missed.
We covered everything. Good.
Thank you.
Can I just add, on the 760 Fitness, and I know everyone and their grandmother likes to ask all of us, why are they not going into the old In Shape building so that we can have a pool? Guys, we do not negotiate commercial lease agreements. If somebody wants to lease a property, they can go and talk about leasing the property. We've put the people together, but this new business that's opening, 760 Fitness, thank you. They're filling in a building that has been sat empty for a long time down at the south end of town at the Staples building. This is a positive, great opportunity. I know we all want to cry a little spilled milk over not having that pool available to us, but it's not going to magically, fix itself. That's between that commercial property owner and anybody who wants to acquire it.
I do know that In Shape management talked to some of their former members and asked if they would be willing to come back and join if they opened back up again.
That's In Shape's decision. That's what I would say.
It's not us.
In Shape can make that business decision.
Yep.
Okay. Quality of Life, Parks and Rec.
Have not met.
Have not met yet. Since our last meeting, at least. And RECVB.
RECVB had their board meeting this morning. I attended the meeting. Carrie Kruster, she gave an update on California Welcome Center. The loan is funded and the architect is finishing plans. So once they are done, it will be submitted to the city. And Doug Luke gave update on filming because of right now BLM properties are not allowing any filming, but he is looking at other locations. One is Olancha Sand Dunes, Trona Airport, Inyokan Airport, and last night he had an inquiry about Trona Pinnacles. It's a small one, but he is moving along with those things. Elizabeth gave presented STAR report, as per which this last week the hotel occupancy is 50.8%, vis-a-vis 20.7 for the same week of last year. So it's an increase of 145%. And the revenues were 326,000 as against 103,000 of last year for the same week. So we are getting along, tracking very well. So I think they are doing a great job. So that's all I have to report.
Recovery continues.
Yeah.
That's what, and have they actually started construction yet? Or not yet on the Welcome Center?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Just curious. I didn't know whether I know that they were getting ready to get underway. Real close.
Is there a planned opening? No.
I've heard third quarter. Hopefully. Okay. Well, and again, for those people that may not have heard the term California Welcome Center, this will be the 19th California Welcome Center in the state of California, and it is a true gem for our community in terms of long-term exposure. Just reiterating what Carrie said in her report, the idea that at the other 18 welcome centers, there's a display that says Ridgecrest sitting right there, and everything about what it means to come to our community. That's a heck of a tip, and I couldn't help but imagine seeing the I remember when I got here in 05, there was these OHV maps that were like this big, wide. Anybody remember these things? I just imagined a couple of those in one of those like tourism things that somebody picks up and goes, "Oh my God, I can drive everywhere." That's just the vision I have of somebody who has no idea what the area is and then discovers something like that. Okay, other committees, boards, or commissions?
I have two, Kern Cog, but those updates were minimal. Nothing really specifically to do with Ridgecrest. I was lucky enough to get over there a little bit early, speak with Kern Cog staff along with our public works director, and we walked through, basically a Kern Cog 101 and how the sausage is made, just to make sure that we were on track. We are on track. I think that we're doing well in the city. We're working Kern Cog as best we can and leveraging them for how they can help our community. It was just good for us to stay up to speed since I personally am new to Kern Cog. Other than that, there was small updates such as there's some cameras coming up on the 58 that are up and running, so you can get on Caltrans website. I think it's District 9. There are some litter removal going on in the Mojave area. Rolling traffic breaks along the Highway 14. They're just basically, so these are not specifically to do with our community, but I just wanted to get it back out there. I hope everybody paid attention online. There was, it was June 30th. They will close the Inyakern Road Improvement Project. Should be wrapped up and ready to get moving. I think that was right. Right, Travis?
The comments?
The comments and all that.
Yeah, the comment period.
Yep,
Okay.
comment period. And then, I'm sorry, do you have a question? Anybody have a question? Okay. All right. I have another, the BLM roundtable. Did you have something, Mr. Wicknick? Yes.
Just real quickly, do you have any update? I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it anyway.
Sure.
And that is about, we keep hearing about the deaths on 395 and 14. Any update from Caltrans about 14 and 395 projects?
No update specifically to address our issue. It was brought up. I believe, Travis, maybe you can back me up on this. They talked about future projects they're trying to wedge in the next 4 to 5 years that could address. One of them is truck passing lanes. They'd like to address it, but it's, in short, no. is the question, but it's on the radar. Travis, did you have anything off the top of your head? Do you remember?
Is this on right now? Currently, the major focus of Kern Cog is truck passing lanes on the 58 path, which would be beneficial to our community when we're coming back from Bakersfield. I think we've all come up to 58 and gotten stuck behind the trucks trying to go around each other at 35 miles an hour. And then following that major project, the next stuff they were going to start to look at was 395. But the majority of the issues for 395 are outside of Kern limits.
In San Bernardino County.
In San Bernardino County is where the majority of the problems lie. So that was outside their jurisdiction, but they are looking at other projects in that area.
Thanks for the question, though. It's a good one, and we'll just keep bringing it back up every meeting. The other one was the BLM roundtable. I was sort of making light last meeting just because there's so much information there, but it really is a good meeting. There was and I learned even more this time. And every BLM roundtable meeting, it is open to the public. Only a certain amount of people attend. The group's actually getting bigger. We go to different spots now. So this was in Sand Canyon, was the last meeting. Before that is at the Trona Pinnacles. So bear with me here. The BLM wanted to make sure that the public knows their office is closed for renovations until August 1st. There is some hazmat remediation in the Randsburg area. I think that Mr. Strand had already briefed us on that, but if you don't know, there is it's Randsburg, and I believe there's also a project right there at Brown Road and 395 that it's a hazmat remediation. Basically. There's going to be a borough roundup, about 300 boroughs. I could go much further into detail if anybody has any questions on that. It's that one was that one was delved way into, and a lot of it's beyond, it's not our control, it's not our community, but just so people know, I know a lot of people are interested, but I have a lot more information on that. If anybody has any questions, please ask me. And there's going to be there was a change to NEPA just I believe a week ago, and I'm sure you're already probably abreast of that. But changes coming. Well, they're here, but guidance coming, supposed to be coming out. I'm told any of the changes that were made in 2020 by the previous administration had been rolled back. The other another issue that's constantly brought up at each one of these meetings, and I believe it's worth asking, and I'm more saying this for the public, I've already said it to the staff, OHV is side-by-sides, razors, those kind of things, increasingly an issue with the National Park Service for people going into areas they're not supposed to be, tearing up trails they're not supposed to tear up. And we, the community, need to figure out a way to guide OHVs into the proper area. The BLMs appear to be okay with supporting as long as they're not doing things illegal they're not supposed to be doing. So I think where we can do that, and maybe this needs to be kicked to the infrastructure committee, or at least I'd like it to be there, or it could be on a different committee, open to discussion, is coming up with OHV routes. And maybe we could work with the BLM. I'm told, I'll take a pause here, Peggy, maybe you would remember, or Solomon, that the BLM and the county and the city at some point had worked on grants for either designated OHV trails or OHV meetup areas, someplace we could guide the massive OHV community. And I'm going to try to get a hold of some other clubs that I was told to get a hold of so I could learn more. But do you have any recollection, Peggy?
I do, but most of it was very tentative at that time, and in the involvement of the county in that was very concerning because they did not want to tear up any more of it and were willing to work with us, but we needed dollars, and there wasn't dollars for that at that point in time. And grants were searched for both by BLM and from the state, and we were not able to find any.
So I was told unofficially that right before COVID hit us all smack dab in the face, there was a grant that the BLM had worked so they could create like a meeting area for OHVs, and then the money got pulled back in the government. So something they're going to continue to work. Maybe we can partner with them and work on designated OHV routes, if that helps. I don't know if it's actually going to help, but it's worth the discussion. The other discussion topic for the BLM roundtable is trash. It's always trash. If anybody finds large dump piles on BLM land, I'm told for the county, but I can't speak for that, but in BLM land, get the grid coordinates, get it to our local BLM office, and they'll get somebody out there to pick it up. Somebody mentioned during the meeting that the county would do the same, but I do not know that for sure. Those are some things maybe we could pitch over to, well, I could pitch it over to my mayor who talks to the supervisor. The other one to talk to the supervisor.
I will definitely bring it up. I mean,
I know it's not high
I
on
don't
the
know
list.
if the county is or is not picking up the.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? The other thing is there's these bags. Man, I'm talking enough that my mouth is going dry. There is bags provided by the county to pick up trash. They're orange. They have Kern County on them. And if you pick up trash with these, not for your personal home use, but out on BLM land, you can take them to any dump, and there's no fee for it. So I think that's it. No reason to probably go on about the rest of this.
I don't know a lot about OHV, first and foremost, because I've probably never ridden in one of those things in my life. I fear breaking them, but I know that Lori Acton had a lot of involvement with OHV back in the early 2000s. She may be a source that could provide some background information. I'm not sure. That's the only name that comes to mind that I knew from an OHV background.
So I'm going to get with the BLM office. They've extended their hand a few times to me, and we're going to sit down and have a conversation, and then I'll involve Ron whenever he gets the time, and then we'll move on from there. But I just want to have the quick talk with you guys. It's becoming important. It's an issue. I believe if we handle it correctly, it could be an economic driver for the community.
Agreed.
So I think that there's multiple factors here. We just need to do it correctly. Open discussion.
And how that might play into the annexation as well, if that works out, that if there's an opportunity to look at something like that. So,
and then even
I'm sorry, I'm not talking directly to us. I know we're still working on the annexation and how that might tie into providing a station or a starting point.
Well, and I would even say how it plays into the Welcome Center. If there's OHV maps and selected routes just from getting out to the city to a meeting spot, that's got to be a plus, at least something to add to the Welcome Center. I can't speak for them. Sorry, go ahead, okay. Scott.
So I'd like to add too. In the past meeting where we were talking about our RACVB on being an outdoor adventure type community, had in BLM land being BLM. Other communities in other states, like say St. George, who has probably one of the best outdoor adventure, areas going. They have an extensive OHV trail program. They have it designated as like the side-by-side trails. They have smaller trails for smaller unit or like smaller quad type vehicles. They have hiking trails, and so would it be benefit in Boulder, Colorado? I mean, there's several other communities that are in high BLM, land areas that would it be beneficial to reach out to those other communities and how they have worked with BLM and to integrate that into their community, because it's a huge thing in those communities, and maybe not try to reinvent the wheel, but
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of extensive trails up in Mono County too. Around that area. So we'll reach out. Good advice. We'll reach out to them after we get done talking to BLM and working with them.
I get up to St. George periodically, but I might be willing to even
Sure.
talk with people in that area that with the city, their city, and but.
So do you guys think do you think it's worth pitching to a committee and having the discussion, or do you want me to do legwork first and then come to you with a proposal?
I don't know that I know you need to do all the legwork. I would like to just see legwork done. The bottom line is I absolutely agree with you as far as economic driver. The bottom line is we know that we already have an economic driver in the groups that are coming out here. So if we're properly managing this, then it's easier for us to manage it into the future for how those groups come in.
So a quick talk with one BLM representative. She said that a lot of the people who come in from out of town, like LA and those types of areas, they don't always come into town. They will camp, they will stay outside. I think if we just if we work it, maybe we can bring some of that energy into town. A lot of the traffic we see is all from in town, so we'll work it.
Is that the danger problem? Is that the biggest problem? Is our in-town traffic outbound?
I think it's a little bit of a danger problem for sure. I think that you have neighbors who don't appreciate people ripping up and down their house and tearing up the sure, that's part of living. You know, I'm not going to say it's just part of living desert. People should follow the law, but it's part of living here. So we'll work it.
Okay. Any other committees, boards? Scott?